Yeah, chapter 1093, Luffy versus Kizaru. The cover letter is Kobe and Helmeppo, hanging with some kinds of animal. um, I'm not really sure what it is, and they've stolen their glasses. So we're gonna hop right in. So first panel straight away. Luffy is oh yeah. So Luffy went giant mode and picked up Kizaru in his hand at the end of the last chapter, and that's where this is picking up. He's laughing. Yeah, Vegapunk and Atlas and Edison and Nami and Usopp and Chopper are all there, like under him, and they're like, "Whoa, Luffy!" He's like, "Oh, Kizaru is saying, well, this is a pickle," and then he's saying, "Hey, now," because he's kind of shaking from side to side, and then we get a zoom out, and we see that Luffy is helicopter arming him. He's just spinning him, and Kizaru's like, "Be gentle." Luffy's screaming woohoo, and okay, so Kizaru says, "Be gentle with me," and Luffy throws him. Just, he just gives him that baseball arm, and Luffy starts laughing, says he went flying, and Vegapunk and stuff are like, we should use this chance to get out of here. And one of the other Straw Hats that's still there, so the weakling trio are like, we yeah, leave Kizaru to Luffy. Chopper says, "Where are you going, Atlas? Where are you going, Atlas?" Atlas says, "To the lower stratum. I'm going to override the pacifista's current objectives." Okay, so the Kizaru took control of the pacifistas off of Sentamaru, so that's interesting. If I don't, Atlas says if she doesn't take control, they'll all be fried by their lasers the second they drop the barrier. Uh, and one of the other Vegapunks, I think this is a main body Vegapunk, is saying, "Good thinking. Whoever controls the pacifista will win this fight." And then Edison says, "No one on this island has a higher command authority status than us Vegapunks." That's not true. They don't know, but yeah, one of the Gorosei is here. Uh, Vegapunk said, like, so it's technically Stella is what they refer to him as in manga, but I'm just going to keep calling him Vegapunk, the main body. Says, "Just a second, Atlas, I'm coming with you." And Usopp's freaking out. He's like, "Huh, you think we're going to let you go too, old timer?" And the whole point is to keep you alive. And he's like, "I know, it's just Frankie Coon come in. It seems Bonnie was knocked down to the lower stratum. Can you confirm?" Frankie says, we're with Frankie and Lilith now. Frankie says she survived. That's great. Kizaru kicked her face first into the barrier, and how could a strapping young lad like you let that happen to her? So Vegapunk is scolding Frankie for not defending Bonnie, and Frankie says, "My bad. I'll go help her right away." But the barrier is still up. And then we cut to Sanji and Jinbei, and Sanji's on the Mushi. He says, "Hey, this is Sanji. I want in on this body rescue mission." Of course you do, Sanji. Um, and Jinbei says, "Vegapunk, I've got everything you asked me to bring board. I'll head to the back exit. Let's all rendezvous there." And meanwhile, we're cutting down to the city below Punk Records, below the Labo Stratum, I think it's called. Um, yeah, so we're cutting down to the city, and the Marines are after basically taking it over, and one of them is yelling, "Stay away from the city center. Jewelry Bonnie must be close by." So they're hunting Bonnie. Okay, so now we see why they know Bonnie is nearby. All the Marines around them have been turned into either children or really old men. And they're saying, "Be on your guard. She could be hiding anywhere." And one of the one of the Marines, as a kid with a little gun, is like, "Oh, flip!" And they're saying, "If you're careless, she'll age warp you." Son of a, where did that whippersnapper run off to? That's an old man Marine, and she's huffing, and they're saying, "Blast her to bits." We've spotted Sentamaru. He's been burnt to a crisp. So Sentamaru is there. Um, okay, so we're getting a slight flashback to when Bonnie got kicked by Kizaru last chapter. And she got kicked through the shield, but Sentamaru caught her. and he says, "Bonnie, get out of here! The Marines are coming." Sentamaru's like on his last legs at this point. Um, and she's thinking back. She's kind of like Sentamaru. Watch what I do. Can I hide until the heat dies down? So she's trying to not die. Bonnie's a bit of a weird one. The implication in the last couple of chapters. So Bonnie is 24. That's her like given age. But when all those ages were given for the different supernova, hers, because of the fact that her fruit is to do with aging and stuff, her age was given as 24 with a question mark. So it's like not definitive. And the implication of these last couple of chapters with people saying, "Oh, like you've grown up so quickly, and last time I saw you, you were a child," and all this kind of stuff. The implication seems to be that Bonnie is maybe like 12 or 13 years old. We know she's Kuma's daughter now, so I do think she's probably like 12 years old, and she's used her fruit to age herself up, and it would be in line with like other characters in manga where when they're like that age and they're like always eating and stuff like that. So I do think she's like only 12 or something, and so that we'll see, but that seems to be the implication recently with her, is that she's a little kid. Um, yeah, so we go back up to the labo stratum and we have someone laughing. Uh, oh, that's Luffy laughing, saying, "Ah ha ha! Oh, Zoro, you guys are really going at it down there." And so that's Zoro and Lucci fighting, and Luffy says, "Oh, do you need a hand?" And Zoro shouts back, "You just focus on Kizaru," because yeah, obviously Zoro, assuming he can fully use advanced conquerors at this point, he is very strong. He is extremely strong. So he's clashing with a awakened Lucci. Lucci is using his awakened zone, and Zoro's like, if this is the best he's got, it shouldn't fall to the captain to handle him. So basically, Zoro is saying, yeah, this like Lucci is not that strong. And Lucci responds, "Hehe, is that so? Then I suppose the head of an emperor's number two is still a decent consolation prize." And we cut back to Kizaru after Luffy threw him. He's flying into the sea, and he says, "At this rate, I'm going to take a dip in the ocean." And what? Wait, what? So he's like, his back is to the ocean below him, and he just like turns and starts flying in line with the ocean, and then he uses the Yasukani no Magatama uh, to beam himself back up to the labo stratum. So that one is the one where he like jumps up into the air and does that, and it's all the like light beams coming off in all directions. So he uses that to beam back up to the labo stratum, and he reforms in front of Luffy, who is I don't know if he's back to regular size or what. So oh my god. So Luffy sees the light, obviously, and he's like, "What's going on?" And then, uh, what we see is it's like what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 Kizarus attacking him. So I guess Kizaru has like a very Naruto inspired, I guess. Instead of shadow clone jutsu, it's light clone jutsu. But Luffy's like typical like cartoon face, like tongue sticking out and eyes popping out of the head and everything. Like what the hell? And so one of the Kizaru clones uses Ame no Murakumo. So, yeah, I'm gonna be reading those names slow because they're like heavy Japanese names. So he uses Ame no Murakumo, which translates to the last of the three imperial regalia of Japan, and it's his sword attack, and Luffy dodges it, and he's like, "Whoa!" Oh no, he didn't dodge it. He just nicked his face. And Luffy's like, "That hurt." Gum Gum booming Dawn Whip, which is a kick attack. Uh, he says, so yeah, so Luffy kicks some of the clones at least, and then he's running away. He's doing it where his feet are uh like wheels below him, you know. And he's like, more hollow ghosts. Which one's the real one? And yeah, it seems so. When they first arrived in Egghead, there were a bunch of like hologram, like hard light holograms, I guess you call them. And Luffy thinks that Kizaru's clones are hard like holograms like that. So he's like, "What the hell? Where's the real one? What am I doing?" And he's just running away. And there's just like a procession of Kizarus chasing after him, all using that sword attack, Ame no Murakumo. And they're literally forming a spiral chasing after him. And he's like, ah! And then he's like, oh, gotcha. Okay, it's a fake out. And he turns around and Gum Gum Booming Dawn Whip. And he kicks through every single one of the Kizarus. And yeah, he destroys all of them. That's interesting. In he armament hockey's up obviously because he's going to be using armament hockey on all his attacks against Kizaru because Kizaru is a Logia obviously. But yeah, so he kicks through all of them, destroys them all. He's like, "Did I take out the real one too?" But yeah, so he's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "No way, he's back there." So Luffy's eyes and stuff are popping out again, and he looks down, and Kizaru is holding Usopp. Luffy's eyes are popped all the way down from he's way up in the sky at this point. His eyes have popped all the way out of his head down into the room with Usopp and stuff. And Usopp's like, "Yeah, he got me." And Nami's like, "Whoa, Luffy." And is that Chopper? Is like, how strange Vegapunk. Oh no, Kizaru's saying, how strange Vegapunk's not here. And Luffy's like, huh? And Sanji, we got to Sanji chasing the Vegapunks in some kind of a car, and he's like, "Hold on, let me in, Vegapunk." And so Sanji grabs onto the side of it, and he's like, "What's gotten into you? You look like you're gonna burst a blood vessel." And the Vegapunks are in the Vega Tank 8, is what it's called. And Vegapunk is saying, "You know, good Marine Brigands, don't you dare lay a finger on her about Bonnie." And so Vegapunk is going down to rescue Bonnie. He's saying, "Hang on, Bonnie, I'm coming. I'll be damned if I stand by while a little girl gets murdered." So yeah, okay, I think I'm going to take this as confirmation that Bonnie is like 12 or something. Maybe younger. I would imagine 12 though. That's the age that I would think of being like a normal one. And Luffy's eyes pop out again. He's like, "Applegrams, don't go down. You're gonna get yourself killed." And then Kizaru is about to teleport. He's like, "And where do you think you're going, Vegapunk?" But as he's, oh no, sorry, he's not gonna teleport. He's gonna just finger gun. But seems Luffy jumps into the way. What is going on? Okay, I'm trying to interpret this. So Luffy jumps into the way as Kizaru finger guns, and I'm so confused. I think he eats Kizaru's attack, like physically eats it, because there's light coming out of his eyes and his nose and his mouth, and he's like, "Wow, my eyes, it's so hot." And Frankie yells, Oh yeah, okay. So light is coming out of literally all of Luffy's body. We get the full view. He blocked the attack, and the light is just like refracting off of him. Frankie's hopped onto the side of the Vega tank as well now, and he's like, "I'm tagging along." And then we see Lilith, and she's like, "Oh," and Vegapunk yells at her, "Lilith used General Frankie to get the ship out of danger." She said, "Oh, sorry, I think that's Frankie yelling at her." But then she's like, "Okie dokie," so that's what Lilith's going to be doing. And we're in the port. We get an urgent update. Dr. Vegapunk is attempting to leave the Labostratum and head down. Uh, yeah, so we see Edison again. He's saying, "I'm standing by to deactivate the Frontier Dome. We can reseal it in a jiffy right after they pass." And so the Vegapunks go through the Frontier Dome with Frankie and Sanji. And so they're falling down. And Yeah, so he has some kind of a megaphone or something. He's like, all pacifista units come in. This is an override command from Vegapunk. Your new mission is to eradicate every last Marine on the island. Okay, that's interesting. So the pacifistas attack command has been overwritten, but we then see Jay Garcia Saturn, the Gorosei who's on the island, and it seems he's about to make his move. So this is going to be interesting, I'd say. So we know the order is the Gorosei, then Vegapunk. So if Jay Garcia Saturn gives a Pacifista a command, it'll obey him over Vegapunk. So that's interesting. We also know he has some kind of a funky devil fruit, since we've seen like outlines to do with them. We haven't seen what they're. All the Gorosei have devil fruits, but we haven't actually seen what they are. Um, so that's going to be interesting. We saw that in the chapter where Sabo went into the empty throne room when Cobra was killed. So where we're currently at, it seems like Jay Garcia Saturn is going to be like so the idea was obviously in their plan, in the Marines plan. Jay Garcia Saturn was only going to be there like to overlook after. He wasn't going to be fighting, but it seems like he's gearing up. The fact that he's looking grim, it looks like he's about to take the stage, I guess. But I think if one of the Gorosei were to fight like in a public setting, I imagine they'd probably kill everyone who sees him fight. So all the Marines and everything would be killed. Any who survived, obviously. Um, I imagine that would be the case. I can't. I can't imagine like them being like, oh, you know that the Gorosei are like extremely dangerous individuals, but we'll just let you go, because like the Gorosei's whole like public persona is one of like political leadership, I guess. It's not like a it's not like they portray themselves as warriors, They have a what's his name? Fearland. Uh they have Fearland for that. So it'll be interesting to see if he takes the stage what's gonna happen. Because like the Gorosei are being implied to be like top tier fighters. Um, so we'll look forward to seeing it. Sorry. We'll look forward to seeing that. Other threads that are still there. Obviously, the Straw Hats are going to get away. It's implied that they're going to Elbaf next with Shanks and Kid, and yeah. There's also the Blackbeard ship that we saw approaching the island like months ago, before it cut away from Egghead. We saw that there was a Blackbeard ship approaching the island. So we we know Blackbeard isn't on Hachinosu. So could it be that he's on that ship that went to Egghead Island? Which I actually don't know if that could be possible. We don't know the timeline of Law's clash with Blackbeard, because like if if that happened at the same time as the Straw Hats being here, then obviously it's a different ship. But if not, then we could see Blackbeard himself pull up to Egghead Island, which would be very interesting. It would be very chaotic. I don't think we're getting Blackbeard versus Luffy here, but I do think it could be interesting to see what happens. Yeah. So chapter 1093. There's a break next week, so that sucks. But yeah, that's chapter 1093 of One Piece. Let's go. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing. Consider